Well, hello everyone and welcome to another complete growing guide here on the MIgardener channel. I am shocked and cannot believe that we have not done a complete growing guide on this, but alas, the people in the YouTube comment section, maybe even you, have been pestering me to do a growing guide, and I thought I did a growing guide, but maybe I didn't. Who knows? So we're doing it now. This one's on basil, and it's a really easy one, so I know you all are going to love it, and I can guarantee you that it's going to get you growing basil, because I think a lot of people overcomplicate it. I don't know why, but I think a lot of people just prefer to buy it from the store, which again totally confuses me because of the fact that it is so expensive. I mean, we're talking a couple sprigs for $3. No, you can go take a hike for $3. That's ridiculous, because when you see how much we have growing here, you're going to say, okay, I could probably grow a plant, because the thing is, we actually don't even maintain this stuff. It really, once you get it in, you give it what it needs, it is so self-maintaining. There's just a few care tips that I'm gonna show you all that's gonna really help you out, and you don't have to do them to have a successful basil plant, but it's going to help you out with your production and overall production and overall health of the plant. So the first thing we're going to talk about is kind of what you want to plant when it comes to basil. Now, the typical varieties, we have some purple right here, beautiful. We have some Thai basil here. We have some, we can't yet see because it's probably buried beneath the other basil varieties. We have some spicy glow basil. There are thousands of varieties of basil. And so you really want to kind of mix and match for your own personal preferences. There's more unique culinary varieties that we love because we love those unique culinary flavors. But the more typical varieties that I would recommend starting with are your sweet basils or your Genovese basils. Those are really easy go-to varieties that are going to grow for you. Now, I'm not saying that your Thai basils or your spicy glow basils aren't going to be for you, but they can be a little more tricky. I'm not going to lie there. They are a little more hands-on care, and if you're gone for a while, you'll see what I'm talking about in a second when it comes to care. But the flavor is well worth it if you can take care of them. So just keep that in mind. But again, if you're looking for something for like a margarita pizza, or you're looking for something for spaghetti sauce, stuff like that, it's going to be your sweet basils or your Genovese basils, your very Italian style basils. So just keep that in mind. And the next thing we're going to talk about is sunlight. So when it comes to sunlight, basil needs at least 4 hours of sun. And we've actually talked about basil in some of our other videos about 5 plants that you can grow in shady areas. Basil does not need that much sun. It will like it, and I will say it will like it if you can give it more sun. So we give it about 10 to 11 hours of sun, which is a lot of sun. But you can do fine in any more than 4 hours. Now, I prefer around 5 hours, but I know a lot of times people want to grow it in a windowsill or want to grow it in a shadier part of the garden that might not get that much sun, or maybe underneath a tree if you're growing permaculturally, and that's fine. It grows great in that type of environment, and it grows where other plants might not. So give that a shot if you have that type of sunlight requirements. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is watering. When it comes to basil, you need to keep up on your watering. It is drought tolerant to a certain extent because it is grown in more Mediterranean climates. However, the basils really don't like to go that dry. You'll find that they go to flower very quickly. And flowering is not a problem, as we'll talk about with some of our care tips, but it helps to kind of keep up the plant. And you'll find that some of your varieties, you actually find that as you grow, we'll show you the varieties that we got growing on here, and you'll find that some of those varieties do better in more drought tolerant situations. And because here we only get up to water about once a week, once every 2 weeks, and we let the rain pretty much water everything else, and we have some straw cores, is what I was trying to say. So we have some straw cores in the center of these garden beds that help to retain water, but for the most part, they do go dry in between waterings, and especially when it's this dry, like it has been here in Michigan. So some of our varieties are showing those signs of, hey, I would prefer to maybe be watered a little more frequently. And then there's the varieties that you can see that I'll also show you that are like, hey, you know what? What do you mean no water? Come on, I'm doing just fine. So those are the varieties that I might suggest starting for the beginners. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is fertilizing. When it comes to fertilizing your basil, it is not a necessity. Basils, they don't require that much nutrients to grow, but they do grow better and they do grow bigger and produce more if you give them a fertilizer that's slightly higher in nitrogen. We give everything Trifecta Plus because it's our go-to all-purpose fertilizer for all of our plants. But if you want to use something that you have around the house, just make sure it's a little bit higher in nitrogen because it does focus on leaves. Pretty much basil, you're looking at leaves. If you're not harvesting for the flowers, you're not harvesting for the roots, you're not really doing any of that kind of stuff. So a little bit higher in the nitrogen category, it's going to focus the nitrogen to put out more leaves. So as you can see here, this is our Italian sweet basil. This is more of what I was talking about. This is not even going to flower at all. It is kind of starting to go to flower, but it's really just continuing to grow amazing for us. This is the Italian large leaf basil. The Genovese basil we actually have in another bed, but it's very comparable in size and drought tolerance. Just over, you actually see that they're starting to flower. These are the spicy globe basils. These are hands down the most hands-on type of basil to grow, simply because they require lots of pruning. And we'll get into pruning in a second, which is one of our care tips that you don't have to do, but it really helps with the production and overall health of the plant. So as you can see here, they are doing great regardless of what you're seeing with the flowering. What I wanted to talk about with this shot here is the spacing. The spacing is really important. You want to make sure that your plants have adequate airflow, but make sure that you're not spacing them so far out that you're really not getting what you want out of your beds. The basils that we have here are planted about 5 to 7 inches apart, depending on the variety. Some of our spicy glow basils, they really like to get large and bushy, big bushes of basil. Whereas the Italian large leaf basils, they typically grow up and kind of out. So where we have a little more spacing in those, we don't have as much spacing. Where we give them, the bushing varieties a little more space, and some of the kind of growing up, the upright ones, I don't know what to say, the ones that grow straight up and not as far out, we can cramp them a little bit closer. There, hopefully that made sense. So this is what I was talking about when I said that the basils will eventually go to seed. Inevitably, it's going to happen. Everything goes to seed. But certain basil varieties will go to seed a lot faster. And what happens is the fragrance of the herbs, or the fragrance of the leaves will begin to diminish, and the production of the leaves will begin to diminish because of the fact it's actually focusing not on growing leaves, but instead on going to flower. This is great because the honeybees absolutely love this. So if you're planting these for pollinators, the honeybees go nuts over these plants. I cannot tell you how many honeybees we have just swarming these plants. But I also want to keep them growing throughout the season. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down, because you'll notice that they start to branch, they start to fork, and what we want to do is we want to basically come through here and pick out anything that has got these shapes. Focus. There we go. We want to take out anything that has these little flowers here, because you'll find that when you let the flowers grow, it will stop growing, period. So what we want to do is just take off all these, and this is what we're talking about with the care. You know, it's not as easy to grow as some of your other ones, because not only does it produce a lot of flowers you have to pinch off, it also produces them very frequently. So this is one of the ones you don't want to be someone that goes on vacation and expects, you know, a nice bushy basil plant when you come back. Because if you're not here to pinch off these flower stalks and keep it trimmed into a nice bushy shape, it's going to go wild for you. But if you are someone that is home a lot, it is a very rewarding plant to grow because of the fact that it is one that a lot of people do not grow for this reason. And so it's typically ones that you see in specialty herb stores that are, you know, $8, $9 for a couple sprigs, and that's really all it takes to take care of that plant. And this is going to be good for about 2-3 more weeks. It's going to push a lot more side growth. It's going to about double in size, and it's going to look like some of our bigger ones that we've been maintaining a little bit better, needless to say. The Thai basil is similar. You have, again, a plant that really loves to blossom out. It looks fantastic, and it's beautiful when it flowers because it's got these gorgeous purple flowers, and it puts out actually purple on the leaves where it begins to flower. However, that's not what we really want. We really want lots of basil and not a lot of flowers, because this early in the season, we don't want them to go flower yet, because it's going to, yes, the bees will have a heyday, but it's going to go to flower later on in the season. We let all of our basils go to flower at the end of the season where the bees can go crazy on them and we can get seeds from them. But right now we want actually to harvest leaves. So it's important to keep picking them, keep picking the flowers away. Now I did think I'd mention I will be taking these in. Basil flowers are edible, they're very delicious, and they're actually more fragrant than the plant is because, like I said, those essential oils kind of, they begin to kind of condense in the flowers to attract the pollinators to that scent. So where the leaves kind of begin diminishing, the flowers and buds begin really picking up some of that basil aroma. So I can just smell, the air is just full of it already. It's almost noxious how insane the stuff smells. But the last thing that I did want to talk about was when it comes to the temperature. Basils do not like that cold of temperature. They like it to be warm. Now, basil can tolerate 40 degrees just fine, but they don't prefer it. I like to make sure I put my basils out when it's about anywhere between 45 and 50 degrees at night. So it's going to be later in the season. I typically plant mine around Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a lot later than most of our other plants go in the ground, but it makes sure that the plants are going to be off to a good start, because you'll find that if you plant them in cold weather, they'll be very stunted and they won't grow very well. And that goes for any basil variety, whether it's a spicy glow basil, a Thai basil, or an Italian large-leaf basil. Now, once they are started and they are growing, basil will grow up until the first frost. It will continue to grow, and I've actually had some basil varieties survive a first frost once they get established. It's just, you don't want to put them out when it's cold, because once you start bad, they typically are stunted throughout the season. But that's really it when it comes to growing basil. It's a very, very easy one to grow, and a lot of people shy away from it, I think because maybe it's maintenance, maybe they just overthink it. I have no clue, but hopefully this showed just how easy it was. A little care goes a long ways, and you can have some nice fresh basil on salads and pastas, and oh man, it's one that you have to grow to try. You just have to grow it so that you can understand just how amazing it is. So hopefully you all enjoyed. Hopefully you all are growing basil. If you are, let me know in the comments box below how you're doing with it. And also, just check out all our other growing guides. We have so many of them. I think we have like 20 or 21 now. They're all over on MIgardener.com. You can go to videos and select growing guides, or you can check out our playlist here on YouTube. But go check out our website as well, because we got lots of blogs and other cool free information for you over there. And it's going to get you growing bigger going home. So I'll talk to you all later. Hopefully you all are growing bigger going home. This is Luke, and I'll talk to you all later. See ya. Bye.